In this video, I'm going to show you how to get reports from QuickBooks Online into Microsoft Excel. The video will be split into two parts. One, I'm just going to show you the built-in tools that you can use to take the report and export into Excel, and some of the things that you could do once they're in Excel, sort of like what's the purpose of having QuickBooks reports in Excel. And the second part, I'm going to show you a tool that I've been using for the last couple of months called Flash Reports. It's an add-on to Excel that you connect to QuickBooks Online, and you can quickly get any data you want from QuickBooks Online and build custom reports. And I'm going to show you a couple of use cases where this would be a lot more useful than using the built-in tools. Now, this video is going to be a shorter version of a much longer tutorial I'm going to do in the near future. Check the description below for the link to that, where I'm going to show you a bunch of use cases of different custom reports I've built for my customers in the past using this tool called Flash Reports. So you can kind of see the dynamics on how this stuff can really save you time over a period of time when you use a third-party tool instead of just the built-in tools. So let's go right into it. This is QuickBooks Online. I have a sample file with some sample data. Let's say I'm going to pull a profit and loss for this year. So I'm just going to change the date range to this year, click on Run Reports, and now I have in the screen the report I want to look at. Now, in here, in the top right of the grid where the report is, there's an export button right there next to the gear and next to the print button. Right in between the two, there's an export button. You're going to click on that, and then one of the options you're going to have is Export to Excel. Now, depending on the type of version of QuickBooks you have, you may see Run Report and Data Sync in Excel. That's only in the Advanced Edition of QuickBooks Online. It uses a tool called Spreadsheet Sync. I'm not going to be covering that. That tool is kind of not ready, I would say, but it has some cool features, but it's not ready. I don't use it. It doesn't seem practical to me. And there's also exporting to Google Sheets for those that prefer Google Sheets over Excel. I'm more of an Excel person. So this is the built-in tool, Export to Excel. It works in all versions of QuickBooks Online, Simple Start, Essentials Plus Advanced. And this one called Run Report and Data Sync in Excel. It's only Advanced, and we will not be covering Spreadsheet Sync, the tool that uses that. So we're going to use regular Export to Excel. Click on that, and on the top right of the screen, you should see a little drop-down menu that shows you all your downloads. You can just click on that, and it'll open the report in Excel for you. Now, I'm going to zoom this in so you can see this a little bit better. And this is essentially the exact same information that was in QuickBooks originally. Now, once you have the report into Excel, you can do all sorts of things. You know, maybe you want to do some projections for next year or something like that. So you click here and you type projections. Okay, and then we can make this a little bit bigger or smaller, whatever we want. And let's do projections 2025, and then we'll do projections 2026. Okay, so again, just kind of making the case to why in the world would I even export something into Excel is because you cannot do these type of things in QuickBooks natively. So I'm going to come in here, and maybe on top I'll put here 10%, and then here I'll put, let's say, 7% or something like that. And then I do my formula. So I do equals this times 1 plus 1 plus the percentage that's in the top. And then I'm going to use my magic Excel formulation skills to add the little cell locks there. Press enter, and yes, and then now I have my projection, right? So it's whatever it was this year times 10%, that's going to be the new number. So we'll click and drag that down, and we'll worry about formatting in a second. And then we're going to come in here and do the exact same thing. What I can do is I can just copy these numbers, copy that, and then paste them here. And all I have to do is make sure I fix the formula so the reference on the second year projection goes to the 7% and not the 10%. So I'll change then the formula here to say D instead of C. I don't want to turn this into a big boring Excel fest, although I wouldn't mind it. Excel was kind of my first love before QuickBooks. But I'll, like I said, in the longer video, I'm going to do a lot more sort of Excel work and kind of show you the type of work that I do in Excel with reports. I'm just kind of showing you in a surface, you know, what would be the purpose of exporting anything from QuickBooks into Excel. Okay, so now let me copy this, this column here because I want to paste the formatting. So I'm just going to right click anywhere here, go into paste special or paste formatting. I can just paste formatting or click paste special and then just select formatting. So I'm just doing formats here. So as long as you select just formats and click OK, then everything will paste and it'll look exactly like the one before that. I probably want to make these two a percentage, very easier to read. Okay, so again, just making the case for exporting something into Excel. Some of the things that are kind of pesky about exporting from QuickBooks to Excel is you get these 4 columns here or 3 columns here, rows in the top with the title. I don't mind it, but sometimes I just want to get rid of it for XYZ reason. I don't want these 3 things here. And then here on the bottom, it adds this weird one for the date stamp, which you usually have to manually delete to make certain things in Excel work correctly. So that's kind of first step. I just exported my profit and loss and added some projections. Simple. Okay, let's go back into QuickBooks here and let's do something with a balance sheet. So let's go back into the reports. Let's pull a balance sheet. And I'm going to use the exact same date range. It's important that if you're going to run any sort of comparisons, that you're working on the same exact date range. So we'll run the balance sheet here and we'll do the same thing. Click on export and then export into Excel. Okay, now I have my balance sheet in Excel. I'm going to zoom this in. Now, generally, if I want to do any sort of comparison of P&L and balance sheet or something like that, what I want to do is I want to click and drag this tab, okay, the actual sheet, click and drag it into the workbook of the file that I'm working on. So this will be one file that contains both the P&L and the balance sheet. Probably the best thing to do. That way it's just easier to work with. And then we'll just close out the other one. Okay, the other one's closed. And then here we go. So I got my P&L and then I got my balance sheet, both things. So let's see, for example, that I want to run some special formulas like return on assets or something like that. So I can do something like return on assets, okay? And then return on assets basically means you take your total assets and you divide your total income by your total assets. So you come back into the profit and loss, and then right here is what we want. We want the net income. So we want to go into balance sheet, and then we're going to put here equals, and then we'll do net income right here, and then we divide that by, and we go back into my other tab and divide that by total assets. Press enter. So there's my first ratio, return on assets. Okay, I can do other sort of things, like if I wanted to compare for example, I wanted to compare my cost of goods sold times my inventory or something like that. Again, might not be something that's very commonly done, but if I want to do something like that, let's go into the balance sheet. Do we have inventory here? We don't have inventory, but let's say we wanted to compare our fixed assets versus our cost of goods sold or whatever it is. So we'll do here COGS per fixed assets, okay, something like that. And then we'll hit equals, and we go into our cost of goods sold. So where is my cost of goods sold here? So we got cost of goods sold divided by, and we go back into the balance sheet and do fixed assets. Where are you? Fixed assets, there we go. And do that and press enter. And I know some of these things might feel random, like why would you do that? Let me tell you something. Working with small business owners over the years, there are all sorts of metrics that they want to use on their own. I mean, every business has their own ways that they track and compare their numbers and track their performance over time. QuickBooks doesn't give me the ability to do anything like this. This is why I might want to do it in Excel. Let's do one more. Let's just do AR compared to, AR per sales or something like that. So what's my total AR outstanding, accounts receivable outstanding divided by sales? So we'll do AR divided by, let's go to sales, total sales, and press enter. Okay. And again, these things could have different meanings to different business owners, different businesses, depending on how they're set up. And this is essentially why I would export any data from QuickBooks into Excel, is to be able to do stuff like this. Now, one thing I do want to point out, the problem with this process in general is that when you do this the next month, the next period, the next year, the next quarter, you got to start all over again. You technically could copy and paste right over this. But the problem is the formulas get all broken. So for example, let's say I wanted to replace the balance sheet from this year to, let's say, last month or something like that. So again, it doesn't always work really well. So I would go back into QuickBooks and then do here. Let's just do last month. We'll do here last month. And if all the accounts are still there, if nothing has changed, technically I could export into Excel. I open up that sheet and then copy that data and then go into my working data and paste it right over. Okay, so that sometimes that could work. The only challenge you would have is if any of these accounts change, then the identification, the relationship on the formula itself could break. You know, in the P&L, it's going to be a lot more evident. So let's go back and do a profit and loss report, and let's do a last month. So again, we're going to be consistent and pull exact same date range. So let's export that into Excel. Let's open that bad boy here. Okay, and then we're just going to copy the data from that profit and loss and then replace it on my master sheet. Let's come in here and replace that, paste. Okay, and then we'll ignore projections for now. Let's just hide these columns for now. So this location of the net income could change because right now it's on 46. So if I go back into my balance sheet and then I look at, for example, return on assets, before I was referring to 57. That's the major problem you have with trying to run these type of reports in a routine, every month, every quarter. So this is why this is not sustainable for my practice to offer this type of work in a monthly basis without using a third-party tool. So let me talk to you about flash reports. Let me open a new Excel file and discuss how this tool will work. Now, before I jump right into it, let me give you a quick walkthrough on how you would get the tool added into Excel. So you're going to go into fanaticosoftware.com. I'll put links in the description. And you're usually going to just click on pricing. And then you're going to see whatever the pricing is. Keep in mind, this is the price as of the date of this video. I don't know what it could be in the future. And then you're going to click on start your free 14-day trial. You click on that and essentially you just go through. You click on proceed to checkout. As of the date of this video, I'm actually not even required to put a credit card in. So you can try this with no specific obligation, which I love. I mean, that to me, that's the single most important tool feature about every single third-party tool I want to connect to QuickBooks. I don't want to remember to cancel something if it didn't work. I want to just try it, see how it works, and then decide if it's good for me, and then I'll put the credit card. And I have no problem paying $15 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month. If the tool is helpful, it makes me money, it saves me time, I will evaluate that over time. But to me, this is so important to be able to test the tool first. So hopefully you watch this video and at least you get to play with it. No credit card obligation. Okay, so let me put my email address here. And next. And that's it. Just click on subscribe. And again, you're not even putting a credit card information. It should send you right into a sort of a video that walks you through the process. Just hit pause here for a second. It walks you through the process on how you open Excel and how you find the add-on in here. So I'm going to switch over to Excel now. And you should see on top of your screen, one of the options here next to developer, it should say flash reports. After you go through the process and install the add-in, you should see a flash reports tab in there, which basically means it's been installed. Now we're going to click here on start. You're going to see on the right-hand side, flash reports will open up. Right there, we're going to click on login. We're going to log in through our Intuit account where we're going to connect our file. And then it's going to walk you through the process of selecting which specific company file we're going to be using. So let me select my sample contractor-based business file, click on next. And then I'm going to click on connect. Submit. And it should be creating the initial connection. Now it'll take a couple of minutes for all the data to load in, but then once it's finished loading, you're going to see here on the right hand side which version of Flash reports you're in. They do updates to this stuff regularly, and the name of your company, your name, your email, all that stuff is going to be right there on the right hand side. So once you're fully logged in, you're going to see this panel here in the top with all sorts of different options. So in the longer video, I'm going to walk you through all of these functionality. I'm going to start very easy, very simple. So I'm going to click here where it says report. So I'm going to click on report. And then here on the right-hand side, it asks you for the company name. So this is the company name that you have selected. If you have multiple companies, one cool thing about Flash reports is you can actually consolidate multiple companies. So if you have multiple companies, you will have there a drop down with all the companies that have been listed, but you can select specifically the one you want. Then you select your reporting period. So let's say we're going to do this here. Then then it's going to show me the date range, which is good. I typically like to select active accounts and inactive accounts, just in case I pull different periods and the chart of account looks slightly different where some accounts haven't been used. So I prefer to just show them all. Then it's going to show you a list of all the reports that you can pull. So we got profit and loss, all sorts of different ones, and balance sheet. For now, it's a P&L and balance sheet reporting tool only. So I'm going to click here where it says import, right there where it says profit and loss. Click on import, and immediately you're going to see your profit and loss got loaded into QuickBooks. So the cool thing about this is I did not have to load QuickBooks and click on export. I did not have to do this. Once you connect Flash reports into Excel and into your QuickBooks file, every time you open Excel, you can just run your reports. You don't even have to open QuickBooks. That particular thing I like. So let's zoom this in so we can see. And here's a profit and loss. Okay, very similar formatting. It looks very similar than a regular export. It's all laid out there for you. Now, what's really cool and interesting about this is that every one of these things are formula based. So you're going to see this long formula here that belongs only to Flash reports. So you have to have Flash reports installed to be able to use this formula. But then the formula allows you to essentially replicate this very, very easily. So for example, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it 3 times here. Okay. So by pasting it 3 times, essentially I replicated the report in 3 different columns. Now I can do interesting things here, like pick specific date ranges. So I can do, let's say 01/01/2023 through, let's say 6/30/2023. Press enter. And as soon as I change those dates, because the formula is set up in such a way that it's going to grab beginning and ending date, it will update automatically. That particular thing just blows my mind. And when it's going to get even cooler is I can pick all sorts of weird date ranges to compare this to. So let's say I wanted to compare the 6 months maybe versus the last 3 months of the year. So I'll do 10/01/2023 through 12/31/2023. There we go. So then that's another very specific date range. And then here, let's say I just want to do April and May. So April 1st, 2024 through May. So 05/31/2024. And let's put the slashes there to make sure that works correctly and press enter. So basically I was able to grab any 3 random periods and compare them. What's also really cool about this is you can choose whether you want to pull it from the budget or you want to pull it from the actual numbers. Now I'm going to do a deep dive into budget versus actual because QuickBooks is very weak on the budgeting parts in that longer video, just because I wanted to show you just kind of the easy parts about Flash reports. But we're going to go through all that stuff because you're going to love that, especially if you do nonprofits or any sort of companies that are heavy into budgets. You're going to love the flexibility of being able to do that. But what's really also cool is here on the actual, I can pull the cash basis of the report. So right now, actual, if I just type actual, it's just going to pull the default. But if I put actual -cash method and press enter, okay, now it's going to pull the cash basis of the report. Okay, so that's really neat. So I can actually copy and paste just that piece of the formula here and press enter. And then all of a sudden, I'm just looking at the same information in cash method. I could also type actual accrual method. Okay, so if you wanted to go that route, and I'm going to show you something really interesting about doing something like that, you can do that too. So you can compare 1 period in accrual, 1 period in cash. Again, stuff that you can't do in QuickBooks. Okay, let's delete these here. I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to delete this end date, and I'm just going to put here this here one more time. So what's really cool is you can use the wording and you can use the date range. And then we'll do, here's my this here in accrual method. Then I'm gonna copy this, paste it right next to it. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compare it to the cash method, something that QuickBooks cannot do, something that my clients always ask me, Hector, you know, why is my accrual and cash different? Well, now I can actually explain account by account why it could be different. So in here, we're gonna come in and do equals, and then we'll do, let's say, cash minus accrual, press enter, we can copy and paste that down, okay? And that's one way of doing it. That if you're familiar with standard formulation, you can go this route. Or what's also really interesting is we can just copy the formula. So I can do equals the formula of this minus the formula of that. So let's copy the formula of this, copy that, and then we'll do equals this formula, okay? And then we're gonna do minus the next formula. So we'll grab this formula here. And I know if you're an Excel nerd like I am, all your spider senses are tingling right now because this is just really, really neat. So essentially, I just grabbed the formula that Flash created for me versus the other formula that Flash created for me. Press enter, and here we go. And then I can just bring that down. And essentially, that will just explain the difference. Now I can do the same thing I did before, which is copy and then paste the formatting. I love that, you know, paste formatting. So now that's all pre-formatted for me. Let me do dollar amounts here because maybe I want to see some dollar formatting, and then I can do here, I can type this and just call this delta. So this is my delta between cash and accrual. Now, some other cool things that we can do here is we can grab the table itself. We'll just grab this table and we'll do data, and then we'll do filter, and eventually I will remove all the blanks. So now I have just the explanation of cash and accrual differences, right? So I can even collapse these two. I don't need to see them. And then I can call this my cash versus accrual P&L differences. Like, how cool is that? How cool is that? It's just incredible. Okay. Other things you can do, it's now bring in your balance sheet element. So I can run right here next to it, I can run my balance sheet. So I can switch over to the report I want to run. Let's say I want to run the balance sheet here. So I have my balance sheet. Okay, so I'm going to do zoom this in as well. And let's say I want to show, I'm going to compare the balance sheet this year versus last year. So we'll follow the same process here. So last year. And then I can come in here and just do equals this year compared to last year. Press enter, copy and paste that down. We'll label this one delta as well. As you can kind of see what's happening at this point. We're kind of following a pattern here. So let's paste special, the formatting, and there is my differences. So for example, if I wanted to bring in my accounts receivable differences, I can do it in here. So I can do equal, let's call this AR difference, okay? And then maybe I can just copy this number here and bring it here, AR difference. We'll bring that value in there, and then I can do AP difference and equals that. Bring that over, look for my AP, my accounts payable difference. There we go. And copy that information over. There we go. Okay, so now I have my AR and my AP differences. Generally, since AP is different than AR when it comes to debit and credit, I will show this as a negative. So now I see the difference between my cash basis and my accrual basis. That can be more easily explained now because I'm showing my delta. So my net income difference between cash and accrual basis in this case was 57,000, from which essentially 54,000 can be explained just with AP and AR difference. The remaining $3,000 or whatever are probably going to be explained in sales tax or something like that. Again, or payroll liabilities. So usually payroll liabilities and sales tax are the ones that kind of confuse the cash and accrual basis difference. But here's just a very, very practical example how you can run very easy to understand reports that contain just the data that you want to pull out from QuickBooks. And then you can use formulas to get really creative on how these reports get put together. This is why I love Flash reports, because I can do this so quickly, no pun intended. I can do it so quickly, and then and your imagination is pretty much the limits. I mean, all sorts of creative things you start thinking about, especially if you're an accountant, like how to serve your clients better. It's going to be through giving them better reports, easier to understand reports, especially when it comes to P&L, balance sheet, comparing periods, comparing them with each other, comparing methods. So hopefully this video was useful. And again, check out the description for the longer video I'm going to post soon. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go really deep into like these type of reports and budget type of reports that I do with flash reports all the time. So I hope this video was helpful. Make sure you hit like, check all the links in the description, give flash reports a try, and put in the comments below what you thought. Like, was this useful for you? I would love to know from you, what type of reports are you pulling, really creative reports you're pulling into Excel from QuickBooks, as I would love to learn from you as well. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.